Hey, I'm Jen. Welcome to Rooted Rehab, where my goal is to cultivate wellness one root at a time. I am a physical therapist and houseplant enthusiast, and I want to just have a good time, learn from people, and hopefully be able to teach people some things as well. Okay, let's kick it off. In my intro video, I mentioned that I'd be incorporating things like posture. And so my goal today is to talk about just some core foundational stuff. And my plan is to build on that as my videos go along. So again, you should always consult with your physician before starting any sort of program, because while I am a licensed physical therapist, I obviously cannot customize a program to each of you, which is why I recommend making sure that you are seeking out professional help for customized advice. Everything that I talk about on this channel is very much for overall wellness. That being said, I'm not sure what kind of spaces you all are in. I would love to know what kind of settings you're in terms of work. I know post-COVID life has got a lot of us working from home, which means a lot of sitting. To be fair, there was a lot of sitting even before we were doing it at home. So what better place to start than sitting posture, right? Some companies have some decent awareness and try to incorporate good postures so that we don't get things like wrist pain when we're typing at a keyboard or back pain. Before we get into the replanting that I want to do today, I just want to address some pieces that you can use to check in with yourself to check your posture. The nice thing about this is it is very basic, but you might be surprised, especially if your posture is typically one of these things, right? We've got the forward shoulders, the head is forward, or maybe you're a sloucher, so that tailbone is sliding back in your seat. You'll be surprised, maybe just in checking in with yourself to maintain that posture, you might get tired very quickly, because what's happening is you're using muscles that are not used to working, right? When we do things like rest forward on our elbows or slouch forward or slouch back, those muscles are quiet. And really, they're designed to be on and working for long periods of time. But if we're not using them that way, then that's endurance that we need to build up. The nice thing is you can start nice and slow, and you can do it while doing something fun like houseplants. Okay, so what's good sitting posture? I like to start from the bottom up, and we'll have these typical checkpoints. You want your feet nice and flat on the floor. Your hips and your knees are going to be at 90-degree angles, right? When we say 90 degrees, you're thinking just your typical right angle. If your knees are back like this, like a lot of us like to tuck our feet or our legs under the chair, this is really a lot of bend. It's okay to go there sometimes, not to stay there. And same thing when you kind of have it kicked out, right? It changes everything up the chain. So again, if you want to stretch out for a little bit, that's fine. But ideally, you want that nice 90-degree bend here and then here at your hips. So we got feet flat on the floor, hips and knees at 90 degrees. Then coming up, you want your shoulders lined up over your hips. So earlier when I spoke about that slouching, that's where you don't want to be back this way, where you're not trying to be forward this way. Shoulders nice and over your hips. And you kind of want to lead with your chest up and out, right? So your shoulders can be over your hips, but you can kind of be sinking in this way, and that's still a slouched posture. So you want to think your shoulder blades, you're kind of drawing them back almost as if you're trying to get them to touch right behind, but you're not. It's just, again, leading up with your chest, shoulders nice, down and relaxed. What you'll find when you try to check in with yourself is a lot of the times, just with tension at work, your shoulders, you'll start wearing them as earrings, we like to say. And you gotta try to just check in and remember to drop that tension. Last piece, ears over your shoulders. So this forward head posture, really anything that's out of line from what I'm talking about, it leads to a lot of imbalances that may cause pain. It may cause tightness, weakness. And so that's the whole idea. So ears over your shoulders, you're tucking that chin in, right? And you're preventing that forward head posture. A reminder, feet flat on floor, 90 degrees at your knees and your hips. shoulders over hips, down and back, ears over shoulders. If you happen to be in a chair or sitting at a surface that's a little bit tall, then the idea is you want to bring the floor up to your feet. That might be like stacking a couple of books or maybe getting a stool underneath your feet if it's really that big. But yeah, if you're a little bit on the shorter side, then you can absolutely bring the floor up to your feet so that you could get that nice 90. Now, before we get started planting, I'm going to get my area set up, and I'm going to be sitting on this stool just so I'm a little bit closer to my work surface. And then we'll get into it. I kind of played around with it. This isn't the perfect thing. I feel pretty good. I've got a good base of foundation. I'm straddling a little bit just so I can accommodate it, but this is better than when I had the table the other way. So you can play around with your setup and figure out what works. The other thing that I forgot to mention is as you're getting better and more comfortable with maintaining, you can either challenge yourself by, let's say, setting a timer, and you set the timer for like 2 minutes and you can sit for 2 minutes and you're good. Then you can gradually increase your time to see how long you can sit upright, really letting your muscles do the work for you before you get tired or maybe you start to ache a little bit. The other way that you can challenge yourself is the better that you get, not just with time, but you can also sit on a pillow. So the softer the surface, then the more challenging it is. I feel really good and supported because this stool is a nice, sturdy surface right now. So let's get into the fun stuff. This is what you came for. This is my my marble pothos, one of them. So I think this was one plant that I had that I split into two. And then I took it from two that was in soil, that were in soil. I made it into 4 plants. So I've got 2 of them this same exact way in my growing cabinet. I just want to play around almost like an experiment, right? So I want to see the rate of growth of it being in a cabinet versus out of a cabinet. So I've got 2 in the cabinet, 2 outside of it. One is going to be a gift to my older son. This one, I don't want to continue to keep in semi-hydro, right? So I don't have it in soil anymore. I've got it in this material that's a mix of stones. I mean, when you watch planty videos, you'll see everyone kind of use the same graphic to talk about what it is. It's like old lava rock and pumice and different things like that. I was very curious about this particular substrate, and this is Lechuza Pond, which is a particular brand. Lechuza Pond does have fertilizer in their pond, and so I wanted to see what that was like. I'm actually in the process of changing a lot of my plants to a semi-hydro substrate, so that can either be Lechuza Pond or Pond, or it can be leca, and I'll show you some of the plants that I have in leca. Soil doesn't seem to be my friend all the time. I most recently had a pest infestation, and I've got so many of my plants in rehab right now, which is in my bathtub. And I'm finding that they're a lot easier to treat when they are in some form of semi-hydro. They're also a lot easier to water. So I do tend to travel a decent amount. I mean, nothing crazy, but when I go, I tend to go for a few days at a time. So I'm really looking for an option that will allow me to not have to be as diligent, I guess. I'm going to be taking this after I just finished giving that whole explanation about pond, right? I'm actually taking this out of semi-hydro or Lechuza Pond and planting it into this planter that has soil. And I'm thinking if I just want to put that rectangular planter in leca instead of, not leca, in pond instead of soil. I'm going to say no, just because I honestly, I don't think I have enough pond to do it. But then the second thing is I'm also not able to make this a self-watering container right now. So that's the other piece that goes along with it. When I have a plant in semi-hydro like this, I am able to keep it in a pot that's got holes all around it. and place it into another pot that's the reservoir, that's the water reservoir. And so the plant is able to draw up the water that it needs. So that's really nice. I think somewhere down the line, I am going to change to growing the pothos in pond, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, in this rectangular planter, I'm going to have 3 different types of pothos. So I already mentioned this beauty right here, which is my Marble Queen pothos. So I just love the variegated look. I am a sucker for some variegation, but I'm going to be very curious to see what happens. The other thing I've been doing is I've kept this by the window with sun because these were the primary leaves that were on here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this little one, this 5th one. And then the most 2 recent leaves that came about got whiter and whiter. And so they call these ghost leaves. It's made up of less chlorophyll, so it's not able to process the sunlight and get energy in the same way. So these ghost leaves, while they might look really pretty, from what I understand, these leaves will die very quickly. So I'm a little bit worried, like, dang, is mine going completely ghost? Because you could see how green the variegation used to be, and it's just getting lighter and lighter. So we'll keep an eye on it, see how it does. But the roots and everything looks really, really good. I'm going to stop putting it back into this water reservoir, right? Because I'm about to take it out and I don't need it dripping wet. Getting this green mat has been a game changer for me because I don't have to make a mess at the surfaces that I work at anymore. I used to be working at the kitchen counter and just have like okabale, like a tray, sometimes y'all are gonna learn some Creole while you're on this channel because sometimes I don't have the words in English. Not because I'm not fluent in English or anything, but sometimes it's just rightly said in Creole. Okay, so the nice thing about this too is I have a couple of wet sticks that I'm trying to get plants to grow from. I also have corms from some of my alocasia. And so because those are really tiny right now, those are going to be really nice to put in here. Whereas this is, it's starting to get a little bit big. You see, like this is a cuvette. It's just cuvette. I guess basin is what we could call that in English. But I'm going to pour out the semi-hydro. I don't know why I keep wanting to call it leca. It's definitely not. Leca, L-E-C-A, that's the brown, almost brown pebbles looking thing. I believe it's clay or made out of clay, but that's another option when you're talking about semi-hydro. Semi-hydroponics is what that stands for, where you're partially growing in water, but there's some sort of substrate in there with it. So far, I'm a fan. I really like it. So the roots look really, really good. They smell just nice and earthy. They're not slimy. They're white. So these are all good signs of nice, healthy roots. It's got a nice root system. Yeah. So this should plant over really nicely. And then I'm not sure how clear it is, but there's a couple of points here and there where it's starting to stick out some new roots too. So that looks really, really good. And I'll tell you what, taking this out of semi-hydro, a lot cleaner work than having to take it out of soil. The soil is just, I don't know, really messy. So as you might see, and I'm not sure when the last time I watered this was, but it's pretty dry. But one of the things that I love about Pothos is it's very forgiving. Very forgiving. I do think that I started off by telling you that this was a marble queen and didn't continue. So in my intro video, I did talk about the golden pothos and how I really got this as a cutting from one of my patients. This came from one plant, but I separated it And that was the one that I showed on my intro video. So I've got one in my sitting room and one here in my sunroom. And I just kind of divided it up and put it into different planters. So this is the golden one. This one doesn't have a lot of variegation, which is fine. I like the nice lush green that it gives. And then this one here is, where did I get this from? I think I might have purchased this, but I don't remember where from. This is the Pothos Enjoy. So 3 varieties of Pothos in here, and I want to grow it together so that it's just like this nice big lush mix. That's my goal. The nice thing is that since this could be due for watering, right? The soil is not completely dry, but since I'm putting this new plant in it and it's coming from really hanging out in a lot of water, I do want to make sure that I'm going to water this through. And it's really funny because I don't know, when I first started, I don't know what my frame of reference was for watering, but it was definitely random. I'm not sure like what quantities I was using. But now when I water my plant, I pretty much water all of them. When I say I water them through, it means that I pour water into their container until that container is saturated and it's dripping water through the bottom, water through. Once that is happening, I did get this idea from Claire, who is the Jungle Haven, where she sets hers. She'll take like her cuvette and she'll put like an oven wire rack over it, and then she waters the plant from the bottom, and then the excess water is allowed to drain through. So that's going to help prevent things like root rot. I love how it's like always things like root rot, but we only ever go on to list one thing. That's the only thing I really know that could happen. I guess I'm wondering if excess water in the plants will attract certain pests. I think it does. If anyone knows for sure, definitely drop in the comments. But I think if your soil stays too moist, not only can you get root rot, but I think it's like an attraction to pests that you don't want, which is what this yellow thing is. Now, I don't have these stickies in here because my soil stays moist, but I do have fungus gnats that kind of just fly around and they're attracted to the color yellow. So the purpose of this is really just to catch them so that they don't fly all in my face. This one doesn't have any on it. No, it has one. It has one on there. But I don't know. I found it effective, and just in the few days that I've had this in here, it's already been a big help because I'll be sitting at my computer desk and just randomly swatting as they fly around. Okay, so that's it. I've got her potted in here, which I like because it helps the planter to look more full. And now I'm gonna go grab the oven rack because it's not here right now. I'm gonna go grab the oven rack, set it on here, and then water it. I've got 2 water jugs that are like this. Can you even see me right now? Probably not. I've got 2 water jugs that are like this. I keep one in each room. And what I like to do is I kind of, let's say today, I'll fill it up with water from the faucet, and then I'll just put it in the room and let it sit. I tend to do that at least the day before if I know I'm going to be watering the next day. I think this has been sitting for just over 24 hours. And they say the reason to do that is you want to give time for any of the materials that might be in your water to evaporate, because there are some plants that are very picky when it comes to tap water, like being watered with tap water. Luckily, I don't have very many in my collection that are picky. I would say my calathea is definitely a picky one. Just to make it easier, I tend to water all of them with this water anyway. So yeah, at this point, it makes planning a little bit easier. so that I almost always have just some water sitting on hand. Like if I were to finish up this jug today, I would just immediately fill it and let it sit. I was worried about it collecting, I don't know, like bugs, but so far I've not had any problems. No problems there. I'm really curious to know about who's watching. What kind of planty people do we have? Are you here primarily for plants? Are you here for some rehab, like physical therapy rehab tips? Are you here for some of the design? At the time that I'm filming this video, I don't have my video up where I was putting up a new curtain rod. So I'm really excited. I gotta check the shipping on it. I'm expecting new curtains to come in for my dining room. And I did not know that they make curtain rods specifically for bay windows. Like it's one rod, but it's got this ball joint, like these two ball joints, so that you can mess with the corners. And it's one rod that gives you the angle. I mean, if I'm slow to this, it's possible. I'm slow to a lot of things, but I just loved it. So I put that up. And then I know like I largely cover indoor plants, but I do have an opportunity to kind of show around outside. The previous homeowners did a phenomenal job with the property here. And so there are hydrangeas outside. There are some beautiful ferns. There's a like hydrangea tree. I don't know what kind of tree has those blooms, but I'll turn it around and I'll kind of, while I'm on the tour, give you a chance to look around so you can see what might fill in. This, I think, is pretty much rooted through. I mean, rooted through, watered through. Yeah, you can, I don't know if you can hear that water dripping, but I'm going to leave that right there. No problem. Oh, you know what else I think would be fun? So at the beginning of the video, I spoke about sitting posture, right? I'm not going to be really mad if y'all call me out in places where I need to work on it. Because the other thing that I want to make really clear is while I'm sharing these tips, they are not, like, it's not to say that it's because I'm perfect at them. Like, I work at this stuff every single day. So sometimes an outside eye really helps. So if you're going to be in the comment section with something negative to say, let it be something that checks me about my posture. Otherwise, keep it to yourself. Unless it's constructive. If it's constructive, I will take it. So I'm going to let this continue to drain and start you on my tour. We can start with what I've got in the cabinet. So this is my one cabinet. I only just added the grow lights. Right here in front is my philodendron sword. And then those are the other two marble pothos that I was telling you about. The temp is doing pretty decently in here, but I have to say, like, I am a little bit worried because the temperature fluctuations are pretty big. Like this overnight, I think the temps dropped to like 30 something degrees outside. And when I came down this morning, the temperature in there was 66. Plants do not do well with big temp fluctuations. So we're going to see. Fingers crossed that they do all right. So the humidity is at 60%. That's pretty comfortable. Right now, I have got a diffuser. I've got a diffuser down at the bottom there that I had running for a couple of hours, and you could see like all the condensation on that glass shelf there. I saw options for people who built out this cabinet, and they like what they did was they screwed a hole at the back so that their wires could go through. And I mean, there's a possibility that I'll do that, but more than likely I can't be bothered because the wires that I have going through right now, one is for the diffuser and one is the power for the lights, and they're able to fit this way. The humidity is at 60, and that's even with this pretty sizable gap along this door here. I do have some weather stripping that I might add to the back. Don't know yet. On this middle shelf, there is this plant that I'm going to go into in another video. It was definitely one on my wish list. If you can guess what that is just from this view, you're welcome to. This is a cutting of the moonlight Scindapsus that I had gotten, and I'm trying to see if I can get that to root and grow for me. And that is just golden pothos that I stuck in there, and it's already starting to root, and it's been there less than a week. That's growing really quickly. And down here is my white wizard that I just picked up from Aldi not that long ago. I don't know why there's some browning on its leaves over there, but I'm going to keep an eye on that. What I forgot to show you here with this growing cabinet, I used acetate plastic to line the insides, because if you can tell, this IKEA Bagabo cabinet, it's got this mesh sides almost like a locker, so it would have been open to air, which for some people, perfectly fine. For me, who's trying to trap in heat and humidity, I wanted to close that off, and so that's where that plastic came in, and it's lined. I lined it on the insides, just all the way down here and down here. So that's definitely helping to retain some of that humidity. Over here is the beautiful Alocasia poly. So pretty. I thought she had pests on her, but she didn't. And so I don't know if some of these yellow spots that you can see are like fungal related, but I check her almost every day for pests and I'm not seeing any. I'll just continue to be diligent, and I'm hoping that she continues to push out some nice growth for me. I mean, how beautiful is that? Love it, love it, love it. I've got my aloe right here, and this is just clutch. Get burned in the kitchen. That's actually where this piece went. Took a piece off so that I could immediately apply some of that gel in there. So I love having this around. Plus, it looks pretty. I'm really not sure about watering here. I almost treat the aloe like I treat my snake plant, but I feel like there are times where I can tell that's not enough water. So I kind of just go by visual when I need to water it more. This is a feather duster I picked up because I saw Leafy Diva swore by it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna check it out. But I started using it shortly before I found some of my plants that had pests. So I kind of put it on pause, but I got to get back to it because these leaves, they pick up dust pretty quickly. I haven't seen any thrips. That's the pest that I had. I haven't seen any thrips on here since I discovered them. So I think we're okay. This is another gorgeous golden pothos. And look at that variegation. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I'm here for this. So pretty. And then you can see some of the new growth. Look, that's starting to push out a little something. I think there was one that I just opened up the other day. Nah, it can't be this one. Was it this one? I feel like it's hardened off, or like, oh, you know what it might be, because this is still a little curly. So that's looking good. Did you see this? Look how beautiful that is. I love that light green, just, I don't know, it's so pretty. So that's the golden pothos. This is a ZZ plant that I got from one of my homegirls. So she understands me, she gets me. She stays teaching me girl math, which will surely have me broke. And I got this cutting from her. This is a money plant that I picked up around the new year. I just like the way that it looked, kind of that tree effect. So I've got that going on. I'm still trying to figure out its care needs, but it seems to be pushing out some new growth. So I kind of keep on watering it about once a week and, go from there. This is a peace lily. This peace lily was gifted to me by a different friend who said that it just wasn't thriving in her home anymore. And I'm not going to hold you, like, this actually looks like it's due for water. Peace lilies are very dramatic, right? Like, looking at her right now, oh yeah, like as I step back and look at those leaves, she's sad, real extra. She's another one. So I mentioned earlier, my calathea likes when she doesn't get tap water. I would say the peace lily is very similar. I don't think the peace lily does all that well with tap water. So when I have it on hand, I definitely try to make sure that I have water that's been sitting for a little bit. Because really and truly, I can't, the distilled water, I can't. Like, I refuse. And I've been thinking about how to collect rainwater in the simplest way. And I found something on YouTube that could work, but the question is, will I do it? We'll see. That remains to be seen. So I typically will water her through as well, but you can see the size of this container is huge. I just finished the water that I had in here, and I think I'm gonna go get my second jug at some point to finish, because there's a saucer down underneath. So when I stop is when I start seeing water seep through that saucer. So she still needs much more of a drink, but that's okay. We're gonna get back to her. This right here is the white princess philodendron. I picked this one up at Aldi as well, probably about a month ago now. And it's supposed to be self-heading, right? So when they say self-heading, it means that it doesn't need a moss pole to stay upright and stable. It keeps itself upright. So that remains to be seen. We're going to see. But remember, I was telling you about leca. So this is leca. It's these brown clay pebbles type of thing. And so I have her in a pot that's got holes down at the bottom. I got this pot from Amazon. I believe it was called an orchid pot. And then the reservoir just has water down in here. And the idea is that the roots, I don't know if you can see that, the roots will grow down towards the source of water. You see that? So this is the other thing that I love, because when I grow a plant in leca or semi-hydro, you're actually able to check on the roots a little bit and see how they're doing, as opposed to when you lose that visual when they're in soil. Okay, so that's the white princess. And again, I didn't get to brag on her, but I love anytime like there's this change in color, like look at this white part of the leaf and the rest is that deep lush green. That looks so pretty to me, and the leaves are really glossy. This right here is Peace Lily Jr. I think this is a white diamond peace lily. It's interesting because the leaves feel wrinkled, if that makes any sense. Which, if you look at this, it could make sense, right? Because there's a texture to this leaf here. I wonder if this is just a baby version of that. I was a little bit worried, like, dang, are they shriveling because they're not getting enough water? I'm not sure, but I'm getting some new growth being pushed out right here, right here. So I think that she's doing well, considering that this is two, right? And then I think two just finished hardening off. And that is the most she's done for me. Like, she definitely went dormant over the winter. And I was like, are you dead? But she wasn't, because she looked good. This one right here, I can't front. I don't remember what this is. I don't think this is a begonia. It reminds me of a begonia, but I know it as like a polka dot plant, and it's been really interesting. I don't know. This was one of the first plants that I had once I started like going in with plants, and it's pretty. I wonder if it needs to go in a bigger container. Just because, like, this weeble wobble, I don't know what it's really doing. I have it sitting in a saucer. You can see its roots coming out from the bottom. I have it sitting in a saucer so that when I water it through, it's got this underneath it, which is also a nice way of providing some humidity. There are some plants that really, really love humidity. And if you don't have a humidifier, or, if your place is on the drier side, from what I understand, spraying it with a spray bottle, that's not going to change their lives because that evaporates so quickly. But putting them in a pebble tray, or maybe having it sitting in a tray like this, is something that's definitely going to help with that humidity. And when I say pebble tray, I'm talking about something like this, which I used to have a plant sitting on here, but it's exactly what it sounds like. You've got some pebbles sitting right in here, and then you pour some water in so that your pot sits in here and it's just surrounded by some water. And as that water evaporates, it's adding humidity to the plant's immediate vicinity. The other way that you can get some humidity to your plants is by grouping them together, because they will basically create their own microclimate, is how I understand it. This right here, it's funny, I posted about this and I definitely called it a calathea. It's in the calathea family. And again, thank you to Claire, the Jungle Haven, because I just happened to watch one of her videos today where she called it, I forgot what the scientific name for it is, but it's known as the prayer plant. And it's known as the prayer plant. And I guess this is why it's confused. You see me swatting, right? Like there's a fungus fly around my face. They're called the prayer plant because as they're like reaching towards the light and moving away from it, there's stems, like there's a hook, a little bend in it. And that's kind of what allows them to do that dance kind of to and from the sun. What's cool about this, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but she is definitely giving me some flowers. That's what my post was about. I'm going to try to take you through so you can see. There you go. We got some flowers sneaking in there. I feel like she could actually be due for some water too. I probably should be watering her a lot more than I do. And I feel like this is classic. What you might see, the leaf is curling up, the edge of it is starting to brown just a little bit. In bright indirect light is, I think, what her growing condition is. So I actually moved her from the south facing window over more towards the east facing window to get her out of that hot sun. But I'm finding that her soil does dry very quickly. And I think this might be a plant that I end up growing in semi-hydro, because I understand that it does really well in it. And it's just, I think, easier to monitor its water levels if I have it in semi-hydro. Well, don't be sad. Okay, that's everybody against this wall. Maybe y'all can help me decide, because my vision for this space when I was buying the house was that it was going to be my oasis, right? Like I could come here and just breathe and have my coffee and watch the sunrise. And then I didn't have a space for my office, so technology came in and invaded. So it's the antithesis to what I wanted this space to be. So help me decide, because one of the things that I'm thinking about is moving my office into my she shed. It's not set up for heat or air conditioning, so that's something to consider. And obviously that's going to come at a cost. And we want to stay low cost, which is why I DIY everything that I can. All right, this is another Marble Queen Pothos. Now, what's funny is this one I'm pretty sure had a fungal infection. The leaves just kind of started. Am I in your face right now? I feel like I'm way in your face. Okay. The leaves started, they got black spots on the leaves. So what I did was I treated it. When I show you my collection that is in rehab, I'll talk more about what it is I do to treat. But the leaves that had the black spots, I just took some scissors and cut off the black spots. And then I put it in leca. And I said, all right, fingers crossed, let's see how it does. And since then, it gave me this leaf, which, yay, it gave me this leaf. But also, y'all see how it's like a ghost leaf, right? So we'll see how it continues to do, whether or not it pushes out more growth and more growth that will have more color in it. If anyone knows in general, like, am I doomed with my Marble Queen Pothos? Is this a sign that it's losing its variegation? I would love to know. So a couple of things just to show you the roots here. The plant itself looks pretty healthy. You can see the root system. You can't see squat with me holding it way out there. You can see the root system there. It's coming through the pot, nice, and I don't know. It looks really nice. So I hope that that's going to work out. This one that I'm giving to my son, look at this. I know it's whiter than these, but man, look at the size. That's the other thing that I look at as the new growth is coming out. What's the size of the new growth? This is a big mama. So I like that. That's encouraging. This one, my friend that's teaching me girl math, she gave this to me. We like to share a lot of things. We give each other cuttings, which is a great way to save money on plants, by the way. If you're able to look for a local plant swap or have somebody that is a friend and they open to sharing cuttings with you, that's a great way to get some new plants into your collection without having to pay for it. But she is doing beautifully as well. She had a root system, don't get me wrong, when I got her, but it's only continued to grow since I put her in leca. And this is an alocasia. Alocasia, there are some that are known as elephant ear. So I think elephant ear is properly alocasia. And then there's other caisias, I want to say like colocasia, but don't quote me on that are not technically elephant ear. But yes, so you may see a lot of these around. There's a lot of people who like to grow them outside. The roots on here are doing really well too. And again, I just love that you can see it through the pot. So we'll see how that continues to do. Then let's take you to my shelf over here. My shelf that is now barren because a lot of the plants that I had in here are the ones that are in rehab. This, okay, so Claire has a friend named Emma. Emma has a YouTube channel as well that's Good Growing. And I was so happy to know that it's not just me. Like, she's been growing plants for a little bit, and there's something that she just can't handle when it comes to spider plants. Same, okay? Same. The mother to this plant, I'm thinking might have been the one that started this thrips infestation in my collection. And when I got like right down to it, I'm telling you, the thrips were all in, not tout fieldy, like all in the gut of the thing, all in the center. So that one had to go. But I was glad that I had this baby plant that I took from it, and it is doing well. This is another growing medium option. It is sphagnum moss. Now, all sphagnum moss is not made the same, but your girl doesn't have a lot of options. So I get what I can get. So the top part is dry. As you get towards the bottom, it's more moist. but the root system seems to be doing well in here. Every now and again when I walk by and I remember to water it, I'll put some water in there, and I don't know when I'm going to take it out of moss and put it in something else, because like I said, so far so good. And it's nice and green, and it's making me feel like, okay, maybe I can grow a spider plant. This right here though, this is it's another golden pothos that I have. So very, very like beginner friendly plant. Oh, I didn't realize that this opened up. When I last saw it, it hadn't opened up yet. So now it's opened up and it's getting ready to harden off. So you've got some variegation, I am training it so that it goes up, 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 and I'm gonna have it crawl along the wall. This right here is also a recent addition to my collection. This is the pink princess philodendron. If you happen to be looking at something and you just see the letters PPP in reference to a plant, that's what they're talking about, the pink princess philodendron. Beautiful, beautiful. I love again, the variegation. Listen, you're going to get sick of me talking about variegation, but that's what I'm here for. And look at how this is like half and half. I think that is so pretty. This I have in leca. You can see it's about to give me another leaf right there. And so if anybody knows what I should do with this, help me make a decision, because I don't know if you can tell this fungal looking black spot right here. It doesn't seem to have gotten bigger. It hasn't spread. It's definitely a spot where it's just like limou. It's so soft, right? And you can see the way the leaf flops, like it's just a weak point. So do I cut back the whole leaf? Do I just cut around it like I did my marbled pothos maybe and have it living like that, which is clearly what they did to this piece at the store for whatever reason. The weaker part must have just gotten cut off. So that's something that I'm thinking about doing. But right now, this is actually the first plant of mine that you're seeing that is on a moss pole. And so this is in leca. That's the medium that I'm choosing to grow it in. And the moss pole is an extension. It's an opportunity for the plant to climb up, right? So rather than just being a support, it's doing several jobs. It's definitely being a support, but this is what's called, I believe it's an aeroid. So if you see, let's take you. Can you see this right here? This is a root. That's an aerial root. So it's coming off of this area of the plant. It's not down where the rest of the roots are. It's an aerial root. And this plant will continue to shoot them out as it grows. And they're looking for something to climb and somewhere to get nutrients from. And that's where the moss pole comes in, because the moss pole can provide it with water, which makes it stronger and helps keep it upright as it grows, which is so cool. I love to see it. The error I made here is, you see where my moss pole, where the moss in the pole stops? I didn't want it going down, touching the bottom, so that it would be like sitting on top of the pond. But at the same time, now these roots, they really have a distance to go before they can reach some moss. So at some point, I am going to rework this to where I push the moss down, so those roots have something to grab on to sooner down here, rather than having to find it all the way up here. So yes, that is the pink princess philodendron. Okay, so now we have moved into my sunroom, and I have been going in. So of course I couldn't walk out of Trader Joe's and leave this behind. This is, I want to say that this is an aloe, but I'm not 100% sure. It looks like an aloe, but I just think the texture is really cool and it feels, I don't know, you could feel the ridges. It's some sort of, it looks like a cactus anyway. If anyone knows what this is, tell me. This is the second growing cabinet that I have. So it's the IKEA Bagabo. And this one, unlike the first one I showed you, this, I didn't close this out yet. I plan to. The only thing is, I've seen some people, what they do, they will get like the magnetic shelving and put the shelves inside so that they can like really do some different things. If I want to do that, then I can't seal it off from the inside because then the magnets are not going to work. I'd have to seal it off from the outside. So I'm just still playing around mentally with how I want to set that up. Over here, I have, I don't know if you should be able to see that. These are some avocado pits. I kind of went nuts for a time just doing experiments to see how long does it take me to get them to root and grow. So I currently have these 4 and 2 more. So I've got 6 altogether. And this is another alocasia that I have. This is the alocasia silver dragon. And this is Coco, who you'll be seeing constantly. Yes, okay. Okay, Coco, off. This is the alocasia silver dragon I was saying, and it's been doing well for me, but I will say that some of the leaves are doing what's called crisping, and crisping is this right here, where it just exactly what it sounds like. It's like brown, yellow, crunchy. So I'm trying to see, I will sometimes either get rid of the leaf or I'll just cut it off, the part that's crisping, and I'm just kind of keeping my fingers crossed to see how it does. As you can see, this is also in semi-hydro, which I think it's semi-hydro is supposed to be like the trick for alocasia. So that's why I'm really excited. Coco, off, girl. That's why I'm really excited to have all my alocasia, if not already in semi-hydro, then getting them to semi-hydro. She's fine, sweetheart. You can leave her. You know, she can't help but to be nosy. Okay, moving over this way is where we have some more of those avocados. Oh, I lied. I had 3 over here. Okay, I really went in. So I've been trying to grow avocado plants for a little bit, and what I would do is once I took the pit out of the avocado, I would remove that brown layer, right? And then I just stick a couple of toothpicks in it, suspend it in a cup of water, and then roots will come. Never. That never ever worked for me. So what finally did work for me, I saw where what you do is same thing. You can remove that brown paperish kind of outer layer, and you get the avocado pit into a paper towel, and then you moisten the paper towel and put that in a Ziploc bag. Leave it alone, kind of like a set it and forget it kind of thing. You can, I think I was able to grow it whether it was in a darkened space or if it was in an area that got light. So either way they grew, but I don't remember which is the oldest. Like that I lost track of. But this is one of the avocados that I have, and you can still see. So once the roots actually get going, then you can put it in soil, but they suggest that you leave half of the pit above showing like this. So that's what you're seeing here is that avocado pit. And just look at how pretty. Big old green leaves coming through. Right? So that's one of 3. This is the second one, which the leaves look a little sad. Maybe it's because of where my heat vent is, but overall doing well. And then this one, this is my friend's favorite because of just how straight it is. And I am pretty impressed. Like this gets, is this an east facing window? I don't know which way it faces, but it doesn't get a whole lot of sun because my neighbor's house is right there. That does block off a good bit of it. So it doesn't get a huge amount of sunlight, but this is done really, really well. And then over here in the corner are my two snake plants. This one I just picked up and it looked like it was kind of a rehab situation, which I was fine with. They grow really slowly, but they are really, really difficult to kill unless you overwater, in which case they're very easy to kill, which I should know because I did that. So I picked this little one up and I think so far it's kind of continuing to do this for me. These have stayed the same. So easy peasy to kind of just set aside and let it do its thing. This one is the one that I killed a little bit, right? So this I tried to save, because I overwatered it. So I did a propagation. When I stuck it in water, it continued to rot. So I decided not to put the remaining pieces in water. The ones that I did that rotted, I threw out. These that were left, I stuck them in soil and they haven't done a thing. I promise you, like this looks exactly the same from when I put it in soil. So does this. But I actually took it out the other day thinking they weren't doing anything and they had the teeniest little roots on them. So I'm not going to mess with them. I'm leaving them alone. And yeah, this is my snake plant. Let's look at the other side of the wall. Now, this is where we've got some fun things going on. What do we got? I see that my lights have gone off. I just got these lights here. These are Barina lights. So it just clips on right here and it's got like 3 heads. So I've angled the heads in different ways. Just to see what I can do, because like I said, this room does not get a whole lot of light. So this is a jade plant that I have that I all but killed. Forgot how. Oh, because I forgot it existed. But it was a ride or die. When I tell you I forgot it existed, I mean like it'd be a good 3 months where I'm like, oh, jade. And then I'd get it some water. So the thing is, it is very easy to propagate. I kind of just cut it, stuck it in soil, and it rooted. And now it's really doing well. Like I think there were 4 of these that originally went in, but they've already like just gotten some height to them. So they're doing well. I might repot it soon. I guess my rule of thumb is I kind of wait to see the roots coming out of the bottom of the pot, which tells me that it's on its way to being root bound. Oh, stop. Okay, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Okay, let me know if you're able to see this detail. Can you see that? Like right behind my finger there? It's 1, 2. It's actually sending out roots from that part of the plant. Yeah, it's actually trying to send roots to go back down to the soil, if you can see that at all. Let's see, can we put this cocoa back there and give it a little more contrast? So cool. Okay. So that's the jade. And I just recently picked up a bigger jade because it just looks so nice. So I'm hoping this will motivate me to get my more sickly one to come up and look like this. Like this is so pretty. This is one that I don't have to water too often, but I'm not talking about going every 3 months without watering it. So I would say once or twice a month, I'm probably watering this. This is one that I picked up. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, it's not doing a whole lot for me. And, oh, but look at how many fungus gnats I'm collecting with this thing. This is like, what do they call it? Like a vein plant. And you can see why they call it a vein plant. It just looks like it's got this cool vein texture along the leaf. And then over here is, I forgot what this one is called, but yeah, I don't do very much to this one either. I would say I water it about once a week. It does get kind of thirsty. And was this two different plants that I put into one? I think so. And then this was its own plant. This is a Stromanth. What is this one called? Tricolor Stromanth, I want to say, is this one. And so I just thought that the colors on it were really pretty without being overbearing, but the underside is like this really bold fuchsia color. This is another example of a prayer plant that again has that piece that allows it to like hook forward and backwards away from the sun. This one I'm watering about once a week as well. And I also try to keep it close to humidity. It really likes humidity, so I keep it on a pebble tray, which, yeah, the pebble tray could use more water anyway. So we'll go ahead and do that. It's starting to get some roots stick out from the bottom of the pot there, but I think it's still got some time. This was all one plant and I divided it up. I gave some to my homegirl. I kept one in soil. And again, for like experiment purposes, I put the third piece of the same plant into semi-hydro. So this is sitting in semi-hydro and I can see some of the roots. It's doing its thing. Interesting, the roots on this has not grown down to the bottom in the same way that the roots on the other one did. But to be fair, this pot is also a little taller. Yeah, not by much. So we'll see. That'll tell me how this one does in soil versus semi-hydro, because other than that, the conditions are pretty much exactly the same. This is another plant that I got introduced to from one of my patients. So they call this a pee-pee boy plant, and it's hilarious as this little old lady is telling me why it's called a pee-pee boy plant, like she's all snickering. It was so cute. But this is a variety of anthurium. I couldn't tell you what it's called because all I can hear when I look at it is pee-pee boy plant. But this I feel like has been pretty stagnant. This actually used to be a bolder red and it's faded. So if anyone has any tips for me, I will gladly accept. It's part of the reason that I've got a grow light over it. I'm hoping that that can, maybe it's more sunlight that it needs. I'm hoping I can get something like that for it. I've been doing pest checks, I promise y'all, pretty religiously. But I've not seen any pests on here, but I will say it started to have a little new growth point, and that's just died back before it really had a chance to get started. So I don't know what that's about, but I will say, based on what I have seen and read, thrips like to attack the newest part of your plants. So before they're unfurling and all down up in there. So that's part of the reason that I'm keeping an eye. But I mean, I'm really not seeing, and the thrips are tiny, dude. When I tell you tiny, I feel like I need magnifying glass. Wait a minute. Are you for real right now? This might have thrips. Eh bien, mes problèmes, no? It has thrips. Wow. Wow. I don't even think that any level of zoom is going to have you see the disrespect right here. Oh yeah, you should be able to see it. But there's that dot and that dot. Excuse the dirt under my nails. That dot, that dot, that dot. You see how you see them? Yeah, those specks, those are thrips. Okay, well, that means I've got to take this into the rehab zone. This is Tradescantia. Tradescantia. It's Trata somebody. But I'm easily distracted because now I'm looking for things. I'm looking for things. Is that a fungus net? Anywho, this plant is gorgeous, gorgeous when you see it in the store and it's in its basket and it's in its full glory. I don't know why, but when I bring this home, slowly but surely, the leaves dry up, it ravels, and I mean in no time. Like I barely have a chance to do anything with it. So the mother plant for this one, I had, and I tried and I tried and I tried. Nothing that I did or tried to switch up really worked. So she had to go. And I decided that I was going to take one last ditch effort at trying to grow the plant by holding on to some cuttings and seeing if I can get that to grow. You know what's interesting? I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but once you see that you have thrips, everything looks like a thrip. So I'm being distracted because I'm like, what's that fleck? Is that a thrip? Anyway, it's really, really gorgeous. Just so you know, this plant is commonly known by a name that is offensive. So let's not call it that. But yeah, like I said, Tradescantia. And if you can tell, there are roots in this glass. Let's see if we can get that. Yeah, you can see the roots all through here. Very, very like fine hair type roots. And what I did, I just recently learned this, by the way. If you, right, allegedly, if you put in a pothos cutting with something else that you're trying to root, the pothos, which is also known as epipremnum, by the way, that's like its scientific name, it naturally releases a root hormone to stimulate like root growth. So if you're trying to get something to root, they say to put it in there with a pothos cutting. So that's what I did here. This is one, and I just have another jar of the same exact thing, but in the name of science and experimentation, this one does not have a pothos cutting in it. Now, coincidence or not, you remembered what the roots on this one looked like? Like you can see them, right? Even though they're like hair fine, you can see how long they are just doing their thing in there. Let's compare that to this one that I do not have in with a pothos cutting. And it's just like, where you at? Where you at, roots? I don't know if you can see. They're there, but like way up here, they're very fine and they're not long at all. So possibly evidence that putting it together with a pothos cutting does actually yield some results. Now this one right here, this is my philodendron white knight. The white knight, even though the variegation on the leaves are white, the stem itself is like this red color. So that's one of the ways that you're able to tell the difference. This moss pole, I did really well. You can see how the moss comes down here, and she's taking root beautifully. I've got these, this is a skewer that I just popped in here to hold it off, right? Because she wanted to like go cushy on me, just go off to the side. So I put that in there just to train her to climb a little bit more upright. And let's see if I can get you looking at some of these roots. It might be hard to tell the difference between that and the moss, but if you look here and follow me, this is a nice root that she put out. This is a nice root that she put out. That right there, and you can see it as it goes right there and then gets lost in the moss. Gets lost in the moss. So that's the idea when you have the moss. You can see another root, another aerial root coming out right here, and it's making a beeline for that moss. Like it wants that access to more. There's actually another little one right here going right up into the moss. So I love that for her. It's working just like it should. I am growing this in leca, and it's in a self-watering pot. So when I go away, I have less worries. You know, I just want to make sure I'm keeping the moss pole hydrated, and we're good to go. The third and fourth latest additions to my collection. This has been on my wish list because I just knew based on its low light requirement that I wanted it to go in my bathroom. My bathroom has a big window that's got that like frosty decal over it. So the little bit of morning sun that it gets, it's filtered sun. So it's not a whole lot of light. And this Aglaonema Silver Queen is known to be a low light plant. And just look at this foliage. I love, love, love it. They're big. This is nice and full, and it's like a green silver. It's like a really, really pretty green silver. So the only reason I have it down here right now is they say that you should really wait before introducing a new plant into your collection, just in case it has any problems, any pests. You don't want to bring that around the others. So I have it downstairs, and it's a good distance away from everybody else. And I check it every day just to make sure nothing's popping up. So I would say it is about 9 to 10 days. And I want to say like at the 2-week mark, I don't know that I'm going to be able to wait any longer than that. At the 2-week mark, I really do want to take it upstairs. But the other thing I have to consider is my rehab is upstairs in the bathroom right now. So I do want to make sure maybe I time it to where they switch. When those plants are ready to come out of rehab, I give the bathroom a good scrub down to make sure there are no thrips hanging out up there. And then I can bring her upstairs where she belongs. This is the Moonlight Scindapsus. Scindapsus trubai. These plant names be having me sound like I'm uneducated. It's hilarious. I have no idea how to pronounce that. I will put the name up on the screen because I find that to be so helpful when I'm watching my planty videos for the people that I follow. But this I could not leave behind. Just gorgeous, gorgeous. They call it Moonlight, and it's a beautiful like green and silver. I have no idea how the light is catching it, but it is absolutely beautiful. I am keeping it away from the rest of my plants while it, one, gets used to my environment, and two, while I make sure it's pest free. The last thing that I'm going to show you in this section, and I think I'm gonna just close out the video here because like I said, I'll do a separate video to cover my plants that are in rehab, which is where that one's going, are the plants that I'm trying to grow from either wet sticks or corms. So let's get you a nice surface to work with here. And I'm going to bring them up on here. All right. The first two containers I'm going to bring out are both alocasias. But if you ask me which alocasia, I'm going to tell you mpakone. I don't know. Because I didn't label them like a fool. But, oof, that one might have gone bad. I don't know what I just caught a whiff of, but this one, oh yeah, I think it rotted. Let's see, what can you see? So this right here, when I opened it, it definitely had an odor to it. And the corm itself, it's like, it's soft, it's squishy. So that's done for. While I didn't label it with the name, I did label it with numbers. I thought one was going to be my winner. One is done. That's not happening. Let's take a look at number 2. Number 2 was like, because nothing was happening. And if you look, it's still nothing happening over here because it looks like well, you know what? I'm going to leave this right here because I did not peel off this brown part. I just put it in to a little like sauce container with some water, which is supposed to be the best way to get it to root, or at least one of the ways to get it to root. And what it's doing is it looks like it's splitting open on its own. So I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to put it right back and see if number 2 yields anything. Number 3. Number 3 is looking solid. I didn't think number 3 was about much of anything, but number 3, look, it's got some roots coming out of it. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put it right back. I think I am gonna add a little bit of water though. I don't want them to dry out while they're in there, but I'm also not trying to have them drown. So just enough water to cover the bottom of the little dish. So we're putting number 2 back to see what it does. We're putting number 3 back to keep doing its thing. And the last time I checked, number 4 actually took the lead. Damn it. So it doesn't, whereas number 4 was taking the lead at one point, I feel like number 4 actually receded because the way that it was pushing out roots, it just looks like it's kind of, I don't know, dried up. I'm gonna see for the simple fact that there's still this white part right there. I'm gonna put it back and I'm gonna put some more water in it and we're gonna see what number 4 does and I'll keep y'all posted. So again, just enough water to cover the bottom of the sauce thingy thing, the sauce cup. Number 1 is done though. That first sign was the odor that I got when I opened it. That was sign number 1. This bowl also has alocasia. So if I had to take a guess, I would guess that the ones that are numbered are from my alocasia poly because I think it had skinnier, smaller corms. And I'm saying corms, corms. And whoosh, look. Okay, I think these are my alocasia silver dragon. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in here. And will you look at this? Look at that. Hey. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm not going to mess with it too much. One thing for you. One thing. Look at that. Look at them roots. So my plan, right? Like when do you make a switch up? That's a great question because I don't really know. I don't know that it's an exact science for one. And I'm going to say, so that one that nope, that wasn't even the one I held up for you. Ooh, I don't want them to tangle. So this is a couple inches, right? Maybe 3 inches. I want it to get maybe to where all of them are about 4 or 5 inches in length. Not a complete guess. If anyone has any recommendations, I'm open to that. Drop it in the comments. Adding just a touch more water in it, because I do have a feeling the one that I had that went bad, I don't know, it dried out and maybe that's why. But I'm so excited. Oh, I should say, I do have those on a heating pad, like a warming mat. So that's what my little grow center is doing down there. There is like, I was like, too much. I'm not getting one. And then I don't know, I just caved because I really wanted to try to get my corns to grow and to sprout. And the difference is that heat, I will say for sure. Like, if you're not giving it some sort of heating source, what are you really doing? And that's what I found with mine anyway. So I'm gonna put this back. And then the last thing I'm gonna show you is my wet stick propagations. Now, this is my first time that I'm trying to do this, and I'm trying to do it on a pretty grand scale just because of how many wet sticks I have in here. What are wet sticks? It's a good question. Wet sticks are basically when you are able to get, like the same way that I showed you the pothos that I have propagating, it's when you have a stick of a plant, but that stick includes a node that can start to grow roots and a leaf and essentially become its own new plant. So I will say that I didn't think much was happening, but look at that. You got that little nub down at the bottom there on this side, and it looks like something's actually happening at the top. So even though I wasn't entirely convinced that things were cooking in here, I think things are cooking in here. I did bring some in here where they already had a leaf, and y'all tell me, like, I don't know, like that right there, that looks moldy to me. Does it not? Does that not look moldy? So I feel like I might actually be losing this, but at the same time, look. This, I'm pretty sure that's a new growth point, this right here. So we'll continue to keep an eye and see. Bet money though, it ends up dropping this leaf. I have a feeling. So we'll see. That's the one down in the corner right there. That leaf looks like it's on its way out. Just when it goes red like this, I think they say, oh, by the way, this is philodendron micans. That's what I've got propagating in here. I've got a beautiful micans plant that's been through the ringer, and I'm trying to bring it back to life. So I'm pretty convinced that it's going to drop this leaf, but again, that looks like a root that's going to give me a nice new growth point. So I don't know. We will continue to keep an eye. For this, I'm trying to look and see how much water I have in here. And it doesn't look like a whole lot. As you can see, like can you see that color change where like all of this looks fairly dark and then there's a light spot here? That light spot is just dry semi-hydro, which tells me that it's lacking some water as a prop box. So I'm just gonna add a little water in there. For the last one that I have downstairs, really and truly, it's not this. This is actually a DIY thing I did because I was like, I want a fake tree in the house, but I don't want to pay $400 for one. So I did that, which technically I'm not even really done with yet, but maybe it's done. I don't know. If you want to know more about that, I'd be happy to tell you about it. But this is my ZZ plant. So this one I just picked up because I really wanted something that was going to stand tall and be something of a statement for when you walk through the entryway. And yeah, that's what you see. So that's it. That's everything I have downstairs. You want to talk about, though, a plant that you really can ignore? I mean, this probably gets less care than my snake plants do. And you can see it's nonstop. Bam, I'm putting out. Bam, I'm putting out. So it's just continuing to give. And I love it. I love it. It's doing beautifully here. To give you an idea, it does not get a whole lot of sunlight because I mean, there's some afternoon that comes in through here, but because of those shades, it is filtered sun, so it's not the most direct thing. I am thinking about just removing that altogether. Y'all let me know what you think. My only holdup, I don't need a clear view of like the catwalk area up there. So I don't know, the jury's still out on that. Let me know your thoughts. Everything that I have to show you for this video. And my hope is that the next time we chat, I'm going to be talking to you about standing posture because Lord knows I did a good bit of it when I took you on this tour. And it's also another really functional position. I did want to make sure that I'm recapping the sitting pieces that we spoke about at the beginning of the video, which was feet flat on the floor, hips and knees at 90 degrees, shoulders over hips, right? With your shoulders down and back and ears in line with your shoulders for that nice chin tucked kind of posture rather than the chin jutting out. That's everything that I have for you. I really, really hope you enjoyed your plant rehab, your PT rehab. Definitely share with me in the comments. You can clearly see I have so much to learn. And yeah, I'm excited to learn with you.